Hey, Gabriel Blake.
Hey, Gaybros Jose.
Where are we today?
We are still on opposite sides of the continent. I'm on the best coast. You're somewhere in the Midwest. That's all we need to know.
Is the third coast, and it's actually the best of all of them. Okay.
You say so. Whatever.
Hey, what do we watch this time?
This was your pick, and you kind of like surprised me. You picked 2001, A Space Odyssey. But then I went and watched Barbie, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Let's see why. I see like that opening.
So we watched 2001, which is a film we have both seen multiple times. We
Yep.
both adore Stanley Kubrick, but we haven't discussed this film in quite a long time. So this was your
Yeah, and the reason why I pick it is not only about like the Barbie part. Is like as I've mentioned it multiple times. I live in Chicago. There are like two cinemas that I love with a passion in this city. Is like one of them is the Giant Siskel. That is like when I want to watch something a bit more sophisticated or foreign. Is that I go there. It's like if they do any kind of new movies, are like foreign movies. It's like an elevated opera plaza. Let's just say, and then. Yeah, then there's
since the pandemic, but continue.
yeah, and then the other one is the Music Box Theater. There is one pretty similar to the Castro Theater. Is like a 110 years old cinema, but what is like really good about them is that the lineup of movies, it tends to be like a mixture between mainstream new movies. Right now they are playing Oppenheimer there, but they do like random cycles. So is that I have like a poster of a David Lynch, like a how do you say, a David
Oh, I
Lynch
love that
retrospective. Yeah, I don't know, a retrospective that they did, but they also did retrospective about like Billy Wilder and many other directors. So they tend to keep it like a bit mainstream, but always trying to bring up like interesting stuff. So I became a member, and every year they play 2001, like some kind of thank you to all of the members. So I got tickets, but then when we actually draw, and that's the reason why I wanted to see it, it's a movie that I love. We haven't discussed about it, but when we drove to the theater, it was a fucking Cubs game, so the whole area was impossible to park, and we didn't realize about it. So we basically drove for 20 minutes around, and then we said that just fuck it, let's go home and let's watch it at home. So up to this point, I've only watched it once in the cinema.
Wow, I thought
Yep.
you had seen it many times.
Well, in the cinema, only once. At home, like
Yes,
3 or 4
but
times. Yeah.
I think I invited you to my birthday viewing. I love this film, and 3 or 4 years ago they were showing 2001, the 75 millimeter copy, and I took my husband and my mother, and we went and watched, and I was so obsessed with the film. It's such a film, and they both slept through the entire thing. You both are the worst. I'm never going to see a good movie with you again.
Yeah, I remember. No, I think that I watched it at the Castro Theater once, but I don't think that it was
It
with
wasn't
you.
with me, because I don't think we've ever seen this movie together.
Did we watch Blade Runner together at the Castro?
Yes, we did.
I think so.
I leaned
Yeah.
over and said, "This isn't a good movie."
Who said that?
I said that. I said that to you.
And we're still friends. So sometimes I
We
just wonder
are
what is
still-
wrong with me. Okay, so this was my pick. So I guess that is your turn to summarize.
I have no idea how to summarize this. This film is truly timeless. So when you ask me the question, is it timeless? It 100% is. This film spans the entire age of human existence. So we start out from when humans resemble monkeys, and they're super basic and they're not evolved, and then instantly we are transported into a future of interstellar travel, of travel between Earth and the Moon, of a very sophisticated group of people who are traveling in outer space. Do you disagree with that?
So far, not.
All right. So the first like 20-30 minutes are of like an ancient time of monkeys like evolving basically. The second 2/3 I think is like just planetary travel, which is mind-blowingly sophisticated, and this was made in 1969.
68, a year before like the man landed on the moon, or Stanley Kubrick shot like the man landing in the moon.
Which, to be honest, if Stanley Kubrick directed the man landing on the moon, I would be like, yeah, it's fake. I don't care.
It's fake, but the thing is, like, it would be more sophisticated than the actual footage that we have of the man landing on the moon.
Way better. Yes, way better.
It would be like way more sophisticated.
So we see this man going to the moon. He's clearly a businessman. I actually texted you today when I was like, oh, it's the Hilton space station, and they have Pan Am grippy socks so the stewardesses can walk around. But we see this man going up to space. In the pre-word, we see that the monkeys that eventually kill each other, they discover a black, it's not a pillar, but like a
monolith.
Obelisk, yeah, like Egyptians. And they get very confused, and at least I get the impression that kind of like sped up evolution, but I don't know.
It just triggered. Basically, what we see is that we see them like just fighting. They're herbivores, and they are like just preyed upon. They're like surrounded by other herbivores, and we see them like just fighting. Like this group of monkeys, like fighting another group of monkeys for just getting to a water pond. But is that then, as after they interact with the monolith, is that they are like intrinsically changed. Is that something has like just a spark on them. It's a bit more is that they understand like how to use tools, and it's like this group of monkeys has evolved.
So then we see what is arguably the best contrast in film history, where all of a sudden you're like watching monkeys in an ancient desert kill each other, and all of a sudden you're like traveling in space, and things are super beautiful, super sophisticated. And well, I've seen this movie many times. I was very struck by that contrast this time. I was like, wow, like this is an auteur who clearly knows exactly what he wants to show me, and he can show it. So we see this guy on the space station. He's visiting the moon to dig up basically a obelisk that has been discovered on the moon and was purposely buried.
Because they're like communities. They are like how to say, like settlements, like human settlements on the moon.
Yeah, throughout outer space. And then we become a passenger on a flight to, is it Jupiter?
But this is a different person. Is that basically what we see? We see that obelisk.
Like 3 acts of an opera.
Yeah. Correct. And then on the third act,
we move on to this guy who's going out to Jupiter. He's supposed to be in deep sleep. He wakes up and he has basically a conflict with ChatGPT, which didn't exist at the time.
HAL 9000, dude.
Yeah, it's HAL 9000, but come on, like in the last 6 months, ChatGPT appeared and started lying to all of us. That's literally HAL 9000. Literally.
Well, there is a bit of a difference. It's like ChatGPT is going to be able to answer whatever question you have, but it doesn't have a purpose per se. It's like HAL 9000 is designed with the idea of you can carry a mission.
That humans cannot carry a mission?
That's like the part is like, dude, is like that mission is about like opening and closing doors. That's what a HAL 9000 is doing. You don't need like a supercomputer for this. That's like the part that I have a bit of a problem, but only because its technology doesn't really require like that. Is that you don't need like a super smart computer for doing so.
So let me ask you this: did you see, upon this watching, 2001 as a man versus nature or man versus machine?
I didn't see like a man versus anything. I mean, it's like maybe a bit more of a man versus man. or a man versus the result of something that a man does.
But doesn't that discredit HAL 9000? Like, he's the villain of the film, right?
Yes and no, because it only appears on the third act, and it's like I was even like just reading about like, okay, why does HAL 9000 become evil? And it's like, well, the thing is that he had a contradictory kind of how do you say, like, mission statement about like what he had to do. And it's like, at the same time, you have to support these humans, but you cannot tell them like what the mission is about. So the mission is more important than the humans. So if the humans are going to be like getting between you and the mission, you should annihilate them. So that's the reason what I say is that it's not that HAL is inherently evil. It's a bit more about like the stack ranking of what were like their priorities were against each other. And at that point, it didn't have like some kind of primitive of I should never hurt humans.
No, I want to be clear. I don't think HAL is evil in the slightest. I just think HAL is the representation of AI making very logical decisions about who should live and who should die, and it being shocking to us as an audience. Whereas that's what's happening today. Like, I drive around San Francisco around driverless cars all the time. Like, this is the future. And Stanley Kubrick showed it as a terrifying one.
But also, like, all of those cars, they are designed with a couple of principles in mind. That is that, you're going to be like protecting like the passenger's life, and you're going to be like protecting pedestrian lives. You're never going to be like putting either of them in risk.
So there was a website MIT put up like 5-10 years ago where it was like, hey, let's play with morals. And you had to take on the personality of an autonomous driver, and you're like, who should die in this situation? Yeah. And those cars have to make that decision every day. Yeah. Like, am I going to protect my passenger? Am I going to kill the pedestrian?
Correct. But it's like, that's the part is like HAL 9000 doesn't have those primitives. It doesn't have to protect the people that is carrying. That's like the part that is a bit weird to me.
That's the horror, right? Is that like humankind isn't protecting itself enough? So
correct. That's the reason why it says like man versus man, or the product of what a man does. That is that, hey, you just created like this monstrosity without thinking that is that, hey, you should be persevering yourself first. And is that they're even going like following, chasing like this other monolith in, what is it, like Saturn or Jupiter?
I can't remember. Is it Jupiter?
I think
when I watched it today, I was like, I'm not gonna remember this.
Yeah, it's like, and they're like chasing this down, and they're going to be like throwing humans at it and see what happens, without knowing what is going to be the effect. Is that, well, we sacrifice a couple of lives, let's see what happens.
So do you see 2001 as a cautionary tale about what humankind can become, or do you see it as, I don't know, just as you described, like, it's a story, we don't have to pay attention?
I mean, we had to pay attention to it, but I didn't feel HAL 9000, is a cautionary tale about like, hey, we can become like more and more and more sophisticated up to the point that we may self-destruct ourselves. But still, we're going to be like chasing down like additional knowledge and additional power. And that's the reason why they go to the monolith in Jupiter.
I can see that 100%. As a cautionary tale, it's kind of disappointing in that this film came out in 1968 and we have no more like hope in what humans can do in space. But it's kind of accurate. Like, I texted you during the film and you were like, I can't believe how many things you got right, talking about like technology and inventions. And I felt like, I can't believe how much he got right about how shitty humans are.
The funny thing is that this is a movie, it lasts like, what, 2 hours and a half, I think?
Yeah.
It has like probably like the script, like the dialogue, only maybe like 20 pages.
at most. Yeah, there's no script to this at all.
Well, there is a script. What we say is like it's not heavy on this position through a verbal. Correct. But I still don't feel like it's super long. It has like a lot of visual language applied in a strong way for just like building that world. And it's like, I don't think, for example, if I think about other sci-fi, if I think about Alien, for example, is that one only with 5 actors or 7 actors or whatever it was in a ship, is that it feels like it depicts more about like how terrible humanity is. In this, I didn't feel like humanity was so bad or terrible. Why did you say that? Because HAL 9000 is that, yeah, it's bad. Is that you guys like created something like pretty bad, but outside of that, I didn't get that much.
Yeah, humanity in this story is not bad. That's 100% true. There's nothing about like, hey, Earth sucks, we're gonna go to the moon. But I think what's carried over is kind of this. I was actually texting you during my watching of it, and I was like, this is a Hilton space station, this is a Pan Am grippy socks. I do think that Stanley Kubrick was trying to like carry over some of the statements about consumerism or capitalism. Otherwise, those like brand names wouldn't have been specific. But I do agree with you that this isn't about. It's not about humanity, but it's about how humanity can be lost in technology and in, I hate saying this, but the future. So like we watched this guy completely neglecting his daughter. He video calls her from the space station and says, "Happy birthday, daughter. No, I can't make it to your party." And then he goes off to the moon.
Yeah.
I think all of this is a metaphor for the neglect that we show.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, we were saying about like just like chasing power and knowledge. You know, a bit more about like that's our main priority. Because the guy, honestly, if I was like the guy on that ship, and I was like, hey, I just disconnected this evil computer that just killed everyone on this ship, I would be like, I'm going back home. I don't freaking care about like what is the mission that you have, because even they say, hey, the mission is about like you interacting with this monolith that we have no idea what it's going to do. Good luck.
And what's super fascinating is that now today we have AI, we have ChatGPT, we have approximately 3,000 other AI tools, and we know that the AI is smart enough to lie to us. So did you read about that lawyer who was hired to defend a guy, and he just entered all of the like legal defense into ChatGPT, and then he presented it to the court, and the court was like, all of this is made up. And so they went back and they saw that ChatGPT had honored and answered all of his questions, but ChatGPT lied. I was just like, oh yes, I have the answer for that, here it is. And it was a total lie. And this lawyer got caught in court being like, you didn't do any research, you didn't like prepare for this. And so I kept thinking about that. I was like, yeah, that's HAL 9000, 100%. That could be us today.
Well, I mean, I just had the feeling that people that trust ChatGPT right now as a source of reliable information, they're insane. They are like just like five.
He keeps coming downstairs from studying for this big test he has to take, and he's like, I told ChatGPT to show me these vignettes and tell me what the answers are, and I was like, you can't believe that, right?
Yep.
She can believe it 100%.
Yeah, what I was telling to a friend of mine when she says, hey, I'm thinking about like just like planning this trip with ChatGPT. I was like, look, you can ask it for advice and everything, but whatever it tells you, you're going to have to double check for actually validating that information is correct. And at that point, is what is the real value that you are getting if you have to validate everything that is saying to see if it's correct and valid? So in this case, a bit more is like HAL 9000 never had a programming issue, and in this case, it didn't have a programming issue either. It was more of the directives that it was given, they were contradictory, and
it was actually very successful. Like the program did what humans told it to do.
Yeah, the only weird thing is like, probably the roles, the mission that it was given is to have included that is like, hey, you have to take living humans to the monolith without telling them anything.
Though, that when I started watching the film this morning, I was blown away by this, and I texted you. I was like, "Holy shit, this is a really good film!" And
yep.
Every image on that screen could belong in the MoMA. The New York MoMA, the San Francisco MoMA. It's so beautiful. And I think I texted you, like, I can't believe, what did I say? I can't believe that I forgot how much of a masterpiece this is, because it's unquestionably a masterpiece.
Yeah. So two things. The first thing is like, I repeated like many times. I watched it with my boyfriend, and many times I repeated this. Like, this movie was done in 1968. It's like we are living in a society that is enamored with with the Star Wars. And like, Star Wars is a movie from 1977. It's like 9 years later to this, and it's to be said that it has like nice special effects, but it's like, holy shit, the special effects of these things in 68 are insane. It's true that they put like a lot of money into it. They create a lot of sets, rotating sets for just giving like the impression that they are in zero gravity. But it's like what this guy accomplished is incredible. It's like it's at a level that is I've never expected. Every single time that I see it, I feel surprised. It's like this is like more than 10 years before I was born. And the second thing,
very old.
Very old. Thank you. I would say it's a compliment coming from an old soul like you. And the other thing that I was saying is that I was saying to my boyfriend is that I could say that Kubrick is like probably one of the best directors of all time. Is that the level of obsession and care that he shows in all of the movies that he did is impressive. And the second thing is that he adapts works from others. You know, it's like The Shining is actually like a novel by Stephen King. Clockwork Orange, I don't remember who was the author, and it was Arthur C. Clarke. That is true, is that he participated on the book per se. They collaborated for it. Like, this is going to be like turned into a movie that it was released before the release of the book. But it's like he doesn't write it, but it still like comes up with this crisp, strong visual language that builds a world out of nothing, like extremely solid world.
Yeah, I was super blown away today when I was watching, and the images are like, I felt like they belonged in the MoMA, in any MoMA, every single image. And I think I texted you, I was like, every time we decide to watch a Kubrick movie, I forget how much of a master he is, and he is absolutely a master. Absolutely. And I forget this. I forget that because he's such a good storyteller that maybe other things fall to the wayside. No, he is a visual genius. From The Shining to this film to Clockwork Orange to anything. Every time I put on a film of his, I'm like, wow.
Yep. Yeah. It's incredible. It's like it's a visual spectacle, but it's not like a visual spectacle like, how do you say, like a Michael Bay movie, you know? It's a sophisticated visual spectacle.
I mean, if you think that this film is almost 50, and we feel this way about it, and I felt like the special effects were like cutting edge, and I was like, how did he see a space station this clean, this interesting? He saw that 50 years ago.
He's 55.
You said 68. That would make it 45.
No, from 70 to 2020 is 50 years.
68 to 2023. Okay, yeah, 55. You're right. Thank you. Sorry, these are the edibles I'm taking. But yes, yeah, it's mind-blowing that these images are so crisp, so impressive, and in the 60s.
Yep.
most accurate representation of the technological future that we always thought we would have. They have voice print recognition. They have space travel. They have
video chats. They have the other thing is that they have tablets. They have like on the plane. They have like these screens on the other cities. Like everything is true. We are not traveling all around the galaxy or anything, but it's like it feels plausible.
It feels plausible and extremely beautiful. This film is gorgeous, like drop dead gorgeous. I want to look at every still from this film.
Yeah, honestly. Then the story, I would say that is like visually is that is amazing. The story, I like it. We talked about like Barbie the other day, you know, about like the monolith representation, about like a force of nature for just like progressing in Barbie. It's like Barbie itself, it just made progress like little girls into just like looking beyond like what it was like the reality that they were presented for them. I could say that a part of me, and probably it's like just going already into the questions, but it's like I wanted more. I wanted like more story. The world building is amazing. It's more like setting the ground, and then I just feel like if I reduce like to the story itself, I think that there is more material here that can be like developed to more.
You want more from 2001?
Yes, and I don't want 2010.
I hear what you're saying. I disagree radically. I think in terms of scale, Stanley Kubrick is one of the people who understands scale, and he told a story that was very I hate when people use this word, but it's truly epic. It literally encompasses humanity from like being monkeys to space travel, and he knew exactly the scale to show to his client base, and I wouldn't have wanted him to expand on this in the slightest, and I wouldn't have wanted him to contract on this story in the slightest.
Okay. Should we go over the questions?
Yes.
All right. Would you watch 2001 again?
Yes, I will watch it over and over and over again until I die.
Me too. Did your version open like with 3 minutes of silence?
Yes, it did. And I almost texted you and I was like, what the fuck, man?
Well, not silence. There were like some music, so unnerving music, but in black. Like nothing at all. Yeah. And then
I honestly thought there was a problem with HBO Max because it's having issues, and I was like, no, this is...
it was then the same version because I had the Blu-ray and it was like, yeah, probably HBO Max is going to be in 4K and this is going to be 1080, so let's just watch it there. And then the other thing that I was telling you is like that music that they use, that Kubrick didn't get permission for using it, like multiple times.
He didn't get permission? He didn't pay royalties for this?
No, he was actually, the studio was sued afterwards by I think that is Polish, like the Polish composer. But it was like, hey, I cannot find... The what?
Who was the composer?
Your Linet or was he? I don't remember right now.
Okay.
But I checked it yesterday about like, hey, this is amazing. I'm pretty sure that it's like the same music that The Witch used. And it's like, no, it didn't. It was not, but it was the same style.
Well done. Like I said, I wouldn't have recognized that.
Yeah. Would you recommend 2001?
To absolutely anyone. Anyone ever in any moment.
I couldn't recommend it to my parents, but I could recommend it to almost everyone. But it is not...
super appreciate this.
The thing is like, it is a super bold movie. As I was saying earlier, it opens with 20 minutes of mimes pretending to be monkeys. And it works. But I think that some people may get a bit bored by the pacing of that movie.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I would fully expect like the layman person who just goes to movies for fun, which is a totally valid, person. This would be a tough watch, but in terms of me recommending it, I would recommend this to everyone. I think anyone slightly interested in movies should absolutely watch this.
That's true. I agree. It's like if you love cinema, it's a must watch. So,
And we watch a lot of good cinema, but I'm not often like struck by, hey, this is a really, really important movie. And when I watched this, I was like, this is super important in our history.
Yeah. Would you remember it?
Yes. It's
Did you
interesting
remember
because I don't remember the details. Every time I watch it, it's like a new movie, but overall, I never forget 2001.
I remember the first act, like the gist of it. I didn't remember, for example, that is like after interacting with the monolith, they became carnivores.
I didn't remember that either. I was like, I know there's going to be a bone attack, but I don't remember why.
Yeah. I only remember is that they learn how to use bones as tools. And there's like a bit more of a cognitive gap that they do. I didn't remember like the carnivore part that is like, okay, yeah, now this is how evolution happened in this world. And I remember like like a bit of the trip that he does, because the second act is basically he doing the trip to the moon. And then like the third act, I remember that is like they're going towards the monolith, HAL 9000 kills everyone. David kills HAL 9000, then a very trippy scene happens that I basically told my boyfriend is like, we have to be high for the last 15 minutes of this movie.
That's really worth it, for sure.
And it works. It works being high. But more details inside of it is like, I don't think so. Like more stuff, I don't think that I would ever remember all of it. Because it's so spaced, all of the dialogue and everything. Even like the video conference for just talking with the daughter is like, I didn't remember that. I had completely forgotten that part. So, do you think that there is anything artistic about 2001?
It's one of the most artistic films I've ever seen, ever. And to answer your next question, I would never dare to insinuate I could improve 2001: A Space Odyssey at all. No, this is a perfect film. It's a perfect film.
All right, well, that was not the next question, but thanks for answering that already. I could say that, yeah, everything is artistic about this movie. It's like visually, I was like mind blown. Every single time that I watch it, it's like I'm mind blown about like how carefully crafted it was. Is that the attention to detail? I can understand like why some people thought that it's like, hey, I don't believe that the man landed on the moon, so probably this guy actually he's the one that actually crafted the whole thing from the perspective that is like he would be capable of doing something like that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Do you think that this is a timeless piece?
Yes, 100%. Probably the most timeless film we've ever watched. Whatever people watch this 250 years from now, they're going to get the exact same thing as me, which is an erection.
So the funny thing is like usually science fiction is hard to be timeless, you know, because like you're going to be like setting a year on the future and you're going to say like, you know, probably things could be like this when we get there, you know. But if you think about what was it, what year did Blade Runner take place in that I should know?
84, I think.
No, not the release. I mean, like, it takes place in Los Angeles in some year.
I think it's still 84, man.
No. It was in the future. 2017? No. 2019. I remember it was like before the pandemic. So I remember that it's like when it was 2019, is that we were saying that it's like, hey, we were fooled. This is not the reality that we have. But with this movie, which 2001, is like we went to 2001 and it's like, hey, we don't live in the space. Sorry, we're not like traveling around the galaxy. But still, this is depicted in a way that is futuristic enough, and half of it has become reality. That is like, for me, is that, hey, we already passed the point of saying that is like, hey, was this a visionary or no? It's like, yes, he was. We are not traveling across the space, true, but he got right like the tricky part. that is like all of this technology exists like it is in that movie.
So you would say yes, this film could have been more artistic?
No, artistic, no. I mean, I already said that it was artistic. I'm saying that it's like, this is completely timeless. It's like 20 years ago, we could have discussed about it, if it was like timeless or not. At this point, I think that at this point, it's like we are far beyond that. It's a classic. Could you turn this into a TV show?
No. I would never touch anything Kubrick did, ever. With the exception of Barry Lyndon, because it's the only film I haven't watched, and I feel like that could be a BBC series of like 10 episodes, but I haven't watched it, so this is just my fantasy and me projecting.
I remember watching it like many years ago, not being too much of a fan, but...
Yeah, I heard it's like kind of a slog to get through. It's not his best, but he's amazing.
Yeah. So for me, I'm going to go with yes, just because I want more. It's like, if you already just made the effort of just building this world, I want you to use it even more. I want to see like other stories about like how society is like just dealing with this desire for knowledge at any price and power. Could this movie have been a short?
Nope, not even in the slightest. This is the rare film that I'm like, yeah, you fucking last 2.5 hours because I need every minute of this.
Yeah. For me, it's also no. Is that this movie is the right length. It's 2 hours and a half. It doesn't try to be like too fast. It doesn't try to be too slow. It's just perfect as it is. And you already said that this movie could not have been better. I agree. I think that this movie, I wouldn't dare to even insinuate that it could be modified in any way.
No, I was honestly blown away. I texted you right in the beginning. I said, every time I watch a Kubrick film, he's such in another league. He's so far beyond, like, I was actually thinking about our conversation about David Lynch and how we had kind of like this, we liked what he did too much because we were in that bubble of David Lynch, and I was like, wow, are our scores like kind of exaggerated? And I was like, I don't want to get to be that guy. And then I watched this and I was like, no, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, it's I'm speechless, you know. Like, when I watch like one of his movies, I always forget about like how good he is. Stuff. So these were all of the questions. Should we score it?
I think we should. This was your pick, I think.
Yeah, it was.
So I have to score it first. I'm gonna score this a 9.75.
A 9.75. Okay. For me, it's going to be a 9.5.
All right.
I debated like quite a bit into exactly what I score. I was actually like scrolling back into, if I score a 9.5, what does it mean to the rest of the movies? No, but this is like as we said, it's an incredible classic. It's like just seeing it is like surprising about like how good it is. It always like infuriates me that I forgot about like how good it was.
He's so good. He is among the top 3 directors of all time for me.
Who would you put on the other 2?
I honestly think Ingmar Bergman and Tarkovsky.
I would probably put... I don't know who I would put in the other 2, but probably I would put David Lynch.
And Almodovar. Those are 2.
I was thinking about Almodovar, and no, I'm not going to go with Almodovar because he has like many thoughts.
No, when I watched this film, I was reminded how good he is, and I thought, but I love David Lynch more. Like, I do want to watch David Lynch films more often than Stanley Kubrick films, but I can never deny that Stanley Kubrick is literally probably the best filmmaker to ever live.
Well, the thing is that we may like David Lynch because we resonate a bit more with the kind of narrative and weirdness that he has. But as filmmaker, Kubrick elevates to meet you.
He does. The second 2001 started, I thought every image here needs to be on the wall of the MoMA. Every single fucking image. It's so beautiful. It's so well constructed. It blows my mind. No, I was blown away by this movie.
Yeah. Wait, anything else to say about 2001?
No, except I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs. They're super fucking... Yeah, Chihuahua, relax.
Yeah. So what are we watching next?
So, because you took us to the world of Stanley Kubrick, I want to go back to his filmography and I want to watch Full Metal Jacket. And I want to watch it, I'm going to tell you the answer now, because the first third of 2001 blows my fucking mind. It's so good. And as I recall, the first third of Full Metal Jacket blows my fucking mind. So I just want to see how they compare, and I'm super excited to watch more Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was a great unintended pick that it worked like pretty well, like back to back, like from Barbie.
It was a very good double feature with Barbie. Well done,
Yeah.
Jose.
Thank you. And to everyone out there, thank you so much for putting up with us. Go watch 2001, whatever you can. And anything else? Okay, bye.